My name is Russell Halbert. With the City of Tampa. I'm the Chief Technology Officer. I'd like to welcome you all here to the University of Tampa. We're here at the Entrepreneurship Center to make an announcement because it really reflects one of the values of the mayor and the mayor's team over the last few years. And that's if you bring the right people, the right education, and the right technology together in one place, you can really transform a community. So with that, the folks here, they're mainly here, I think, to make me look old. So, stole the joke. I just want to let you guys, I just want to introduce right now somebody from a company who has been transforming cities over the last few years at a very, very rapid pace. And I'd like you to introduce Brian Bell. He's the lead regional expansion director for the Google Fiber. And he's been with the company for a long time. He was a lawyer with Google Fiber doing regulation work. And I think now I'm going to introduce him. He's going to tell you a little bit about what we have going on here today and something that I think the entire city is going to be gratified to hear. Thanks, Brian. Good to meet you.
Thanks, Russell. Hi, thank you for having me. As Russell said, my name is Brian Bell. I am a regional expansion lead for Google Fiber. I'm thrilled to be here today, along with the mayor, to announce that Google Fiber is exploring the possibility of bringing Google Fiber to Tampa. We're really excited to be taking this first step with the city and know it will be a close collaboration going forward. Tampa stood out in our minds for lots of reasons, and I'd like to highlight three of them. First, Tampa is a fast-growing city with a thriving entrepreneurial sector. One of our goals with Google Fiber is to equip engineers and entrepreneurs with super fast gigabit internet speeds to see what technologies they can develop so that they can help shape the future of the internet. Let me give you an idea of the kind of speed we're talking about. Today, the average internet connection in the US is about 12 megabits per second. With Google Fiber, we can deliver speeds close to 1,000 megabits per second. We believe that if we bring that kind of speed, gigabit speeds, to Tampa, the future of the internet will be built right here. Second, we know that Tampa's leaders understand the importance of the internet for families today. It's telling that Tampa was chosen as one of just 28 communities to participate in the White House's Connect Home initiative, which focuses on bringing better access to the internet to families and students. At Google Fiber, we're passionate about helping more people get online, and especially those for the first time. And we look for cities like Tampa that are committed to digital inclusion work. Finally, we look for cities that have strong leaders, like Mayor Buckhorn and his team, who are committed to making this work and to being great partners. City leadership is critically important because in order to deliver Google Fiber service to local residents and businesses, we will need to build thousands of miles of infrastructure as we build out a new network. That kind of project requires us to collaborate very closely with City Hall and work on things like permitting, construction scheduling, infrastructure placement, and lots more. So what's next? Over the next few months, we at Google Fiber are going to be rolling up our sleeves and working closely with the mayor and his team on a joint planning process. Before we dig up any streets, we'll start with a series of detailed planning meetings and do a lot of information gathering. That will allow us to work together with city leaders up front to plan what building a network here would look like. In sum, we know that great things can happen when a community upgrades to a gigabit network. Faster speeds mean more opportunities for innovation and development. We know that Tampa would do great things with a gig. While today's announcement is just the first step, we are thrilled to be here and to be working with the city to explore bringing Google Fiber to Tampa. Thank you.
As you can imagine, this is an exciting day for our city. You know, I look at the young folks that are behind me, and I look at this entrepreneurial center that the University of Tampa has just recently built. And I think about the grand opening of the WAVE Center that we attended last week, where over 150 technology companies and 250 entrepreneurs are being fostered and grown and bred. And I think about what this community has achieved over the last 4 years, but more importantly, I think about what's going to happen over the next decade. And to know that Google has selected us as a potential opportunity for deployment of Google Fiber, a rare selection in America, given all the cities across the country. There have been only very few that have been selected where it's been deployed and that are being considered, like Tampa, Florida. I mean, if we're going to create an entrepreneurial ecosystem here, we've got to have the ability to move data. And our ability to move data gives us a competitive advantage. Speed is important, particularly when you're talking about telemedicine, particularly when you're talking about access to underserved communities, particularly when you're talking about entrepreneurs who need to have the ability to move data as quickly as possible in as large amount of capacity as possible. When you're talking about internet speeds 100 times faster than the average speed in the state of Florida, that gives us a competitive edge. That means that these young people behind me are going to be able to do what they aspire to do when they graduate from this great university and do it better in an environment that is more competitive, that is more user-friendly, that gives us a leg up over other cities and allows us to create this ecosystem that we talked about, where technology companies are going to grow and they're going to foster, where our healthcare system is going to grow and going to continue to blossom, whether it's at Moffitt Cancer Center, whether it's the telemedicine at Tampa General. This is exactly the type of infrastructure that we need to compete with global regions around the globe. So for me, thank you to Google. Thank you for believing in us. Thank you, most importantly, for believing in our future. I mean, this is an exciting day for us. I mean, this really is. This puts us in the ranks of great American cities that have either deployed it or are about to deploy it. We're going to compete hard to win this. I mean, we're not there yet. But the fact that we are in the game speaks volumes about who we are and where this city is in its development. So we intend, and you know I love to compete. I mean, I hate losing worse than anything. And so we're going to go out and compete in this next round. We intend to win. And we're going to do what it takes to establish the kind of partnership that Google is looking for, from the regulatory process, the permitting process, the speed of permitting, the ability to work with our department heads, the ability to create an environment where Google can be successful and our community can be served better. So, Brian, thank you to the Google team that's here. Thank you for choosing us to be in that next round to compete, and we look forward to winning. We're gonna get this, and this city will be a better place and a more competitive place for the bright young minds that you see standing behind me, and tens of thousands of others who will get access to high-speed data capacity. And so this is a good day for Tampa, and sorry we had to keep you in the dark. But was it worth it?
Yes.
Okay, there we go. Now we're talking. All right, well, we're going to give you shovels. You're going to start digging some lines out there. So, all right.
With that, we're going to do some Q&A.
Yep. Thanks, Brian.
Question for Brian. So how many cities do you have this right now, Google Fiber right now?
Sure. So we are currently building or serving customers in 3 metro areas. That's Kansas City, Austin, Texas, and Provo, Utah. We are in the process of building networks in 6 more metro areas, so several cities in the southeast like Atlanta, Charlotte, Raleigh, Nashville. Let's see, we got Salt Lake City as well. And then today we're also announcing that we're beginning this process not only with Tampa, but also Jacksonville, Florida, and Oklahoma City. We announced a few cities, I think it was 2 weeks ago, so Louisville, San Diego, and Irvine. And so, and then we also have a couple cities like the Phoenix metro area, Phoenix, Scottsdale, Tempe, San Jose, and Portland, who are also still under evaluation by Google. So we are evaluating a lot of cities, we're building in some cities, and we're serving customers in some.
You're talking about this as a competition. What exactly does Tampa have to compete for, and when do you select, and who do you select?
Sure. So I love the mayor's spirit, but I'm happy to report this is not a competition. We want to deploy fiber to all of the cities we're working with. And so this process is really about us understanding what a build-out would look like here in Tampa, to work through the permitting processes, to have a sense of what local infrastructure looks like and processes are like. But we hope to be able to build and deploy a network in all of those cities.
And what's the timetable? If you've done this in a few other cities, what's the timetable from this moment to actually having it go online?
I think it's too early to speculate on that. That's really what we want to understand, and that's part of this process, is just getting a better sense of how long a build-out would take, how long will the permit process take, and depending on the information we uncover, this initial evaluation stage, it could last any number of months, so there's no set timeline that we're looking at.
Can you talk a little bit about how competition has reacted in the other communities where you either have this service or are planning to bring it?
Sure. So, at Google, we believe more internet and abundance of internet is great for everyone. So in some of our markets like Kansas City and Austin, when we've announced that we're building a network, we've seen speeds go up and prices go down, which we think is great.
What is it that will convince you that Tampa is the right place for Google Fiber?
Well, I think I mentioned some of the things that already make Tampa a really attractive place to build a fiber network, and a lot of the entrepreneurial growth and the tech sector doing interesting things here are huge pluses for Tampa. And I think as long as, and everything the mayor said today makes us really optimistic that this will work. So as long as we understand the permit process and we get through some of those initial hurdles that any new provider would have to get over, we're really optimistic that it should work here. But it's a long process, and we'll have to do a lot of learning and information sharing with the mayor and City Hall to figure out all the details.
What are some of the challenges that Tampa faces, if there are any that are unique to Tampa?
I think it's too early to say for Tampa in particular. So some of the things we look at are condition of existing infrastructure, availability of data on assets that may already be in the ground, local build considerations. So things like rock or mud, our build teams need to understand. So it gets pretty detailed for our construction and design team. So I think too early to speculate, but we hope to uncover that, and that's why this initial process, the checklist process we call it, is really important because it gives us those answers.
So you're already in Provo, Utah, Kansas City, and Austin.
Correct.
Tell us a little bit about how it's working there right now.
Sure. So Kansas City was our first city. We announced Kansas City, Kansas in response to basically a request to cities to see if they were interested in partnering with Google on our first fiber rollout. And we're in Kansas City, Kansas, Kansas City, Missouri, and have built out those the city limits and now are expanding into some of the suburbs around those cities. And I think we're thrilled with the results. We love delivering high quality service. We really focus on making the customer experience incredibly positive. And we love seeing what our customers can do with a gig. They're surprising us all the time with their level of innovation and the different types of things they're doing when we can give them a super fast connection.
Trevor, I can tell you, certainly in the mayor's world, when Kansas City was awarded the first Google Fiber, it was a big, big deal. Our ability to recruit companies, our ability to attract jobs, having Google Fiber in 1 gig capacity gives us a leg up. And so, for cities that have this and cities who are participating in this exploratory process, the selection is meaningful. It recognizes what's going on here, the good things that are happening. But I can tell you at the end of the day, it is all about competition, and cities that have it are far more competitive than cities that don't.
Is there a cost to the city for this?
At this point, we don't know. I mean, we're going through the exploratory process hand in hand with Google. Obviously, like any of the utilities, there are franchise agreements. There's all kinds of things that we have to work through. The laying of the lines and the placement of the utility boxes, or however Google were to do it. So, we will do it as we have always done it, as efficiently as we can, as quickly as we can for the end user, which is Google. But at this point, we don't know, Mitch. I mean, my job right now is to be the champion of fiber deployment.
What's it mean to be on like the cutting edge of it before New York or in LA or something like that?
Well, I love to compete, Trevor. For me, there's either winning or losing. So competing against anybody is what I do. And to give us that leg up against our other competitors around the country and around the globe really is important to us. I mean, it allows us to grow more jobs, to attract better companies, because having access to the ability to move data really is one of the things that they will go through in a checklist as they're looking to relocate potential companies here. It's a big deal. I mean, it's no different than the brick and mortar transportation system that we have. The ability to move data for companies, particularly those in specific spaces, is really, really critical. And I say it over and over again, speed matters. And in this case, speed gives us with Google a great partner and makes us much, much more competitive.
What kind of pie-in-the-sky ideals do you think this now could put in arm's reach of the city?
Well, I think it gives existing companies the opportunity to do more. I think it gives startup companies the opportunities to expand their horizons. I think if you look at our healthcare system here and our burgeoning healthcare system, whether it's at Moffitt or Tampa General or USF Med School or Florida Hospital, the ability to telemedicine around the world and to have the capacity to accommodate those things, which oftentimes you cannot do under traditional internet providers. I mean, I think for access to underserved communities, I mean, just imagine what a kid in North Boulevard Homes or in Robles Park who may not have access to the internet first and foremost, but who now will have access to 1 gig capacity and be able to explore a whole new world that he or she doesn't even know anything about. The federal government, President Obama has awarded us the Connect Home partnership, and so these are exactly the kinds of partnerships that when we put them together can not only serve our corporate community, but can serve everybody in this community and make them more competitive and give them greater access at greater speed than they've ever had before. 100 times faster than the average internet provider in the state of Florida.
I want to ask the mayor, how fast is your own internet at home?
Well, that's hard to tell because my daughters are on Instagram every night, all night, practically. You know, I have one of the local providers. You know, I would love more speed. I think we could do more as a family. So I think, obviously, increasing that capacity is to the benefit of every person in this community. Yeah.
What are the rates like in the other cities that have Google Fiber?
Sure. So obviously too early to talk about them here specifically in Tampa, but I'll use Austin as an example, the city we've most recently hooked up customers in. We offer the Gigabit, our flagship product, up to 1,000 megabits per second for $70 a month. And we do offer a fantastic TV package, more than 150 HD channels, cloud DVR. You know, you imagine a bunch of Google software engineers working on some great products. So we could add that on, I think, for $60. So it's $130 if you take the TV and internet, the Gigabit package. And we're really proud. We also offer a basic product. So that the idea is that for a lot of people who haven't been online before, we should give them a way to experience the internet and make them understand the value of it. So we offer today in our current cities what we call our basic package for no monthly fee after a $300 construction fee that can be spread out over a year. And we guarantee that for at least 7 years per address.
Is this initially limited to just the city limits, or does it go out into the county at all?
Sure. So we're going to start our focus here within the city limits of Tampa. It's a big project. There's a lot of work to do, and so we are going to focus our initial efforts here in the city.
Actually, again, can you give us a sense of a timetable? I know there's a lot of what ifs, but just kind of a
Yeah, I think it just is too early. I would have no confidence or degree of certainty if I offered one, so it's just too early to say at this point.